This is about comfortable as I'm going to get. Well, welcome to the Chocolate Mountain Show. I am your host. Eight Wind is timeless. I am the holder of the continuous ball game of the Hero Twins. I am your galactic daddy-o sitting on my terrace pyramid galactic patio, bringing you the good times. You have arrived because I am here to put a little of that good feeling in your ear. So good evening, all. Sorry, hey JR, thank you for joining me. Had a little technical difficulties. It took me a minute. I've been sitting here, and that is why I'm going to do the commercial again. I'm drinking Samuel Adams Winter Ale at a 12 pack, and it is filled with. It's a lager brewed with orange peel, cinnamon, and ginger. So smoke them if you got them, pop them if you want them. It's your thing. Do what you want to do. Greet you on this very beautiful day, which is interesting because we did not have the snowstorm that was predicted. Matter of fact, I had to turn my heat off because it got too dang hot in here. It was like 30 degrees all day. So no snow, little icy now, but I left my car out because it doesn't appear like we're going to get the storm. So I want to start off tonight. Who else joined? Yeah, it is JR. It's good. What's up, man? Good stuff. Always last show listened. Oh, okay. Thank you, Brian. Thank you for listening to it. I appreciate it. That's solid. The first thing that comes to mind today is we're counting number 6 in the Super Bowl ritual deaths. So we had the producer, Sophie, trans person, but she was a producer, was 34 years old. So this is death number 6 of the Super Bowl. Remember, we had Montrell DeRune, 34-year-old, who was Beyonce's cousin and a rapper. We had the basketball coach, John Chaney. We had Cicely Tyson. And we had the ESPN, Seiko Smith. And we had Cloris Leachman. These are all Super Bowl ritualistic killings. So we're up to number 6. So we're at the end of the week, beginning of a new week, and we're going to see more famous people, more people touched by the business. Because again, one year I counted 21. In 1 year, people actually died the night of, after the Super Bowl. Here it is. So this is something to think about. And this is why I make the proclamation about being the holder of the sacred ball game. Again, this is a corruption of something that's really supposed to be spiritual. What's really is supposed to give some conclusion to issues between different people by continuously moving and sharing energies. So this is how evil it is. Hey, Gray, thank you for joining. Tom Brady going from 6 to 7. I think so too. I'm taking the points in Tom Brady. Peace, kind words to you. Thank you. Peace back to you, read my soul. I everything I've kind of put my money on so far is kind of blew it. So this is probably the only time I would ever pull for Tom Brady. And so, but I just look at what they're trying to do. And I think they want him to one up or maybe even tie Bill Russell. Now that would put him playing into his late 40s to get 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. He'd have to play 4 more years, which would put him 47, 48. Wouldn't that be a trip? They want you to believe that this cat at 48 could still play. But that's what I imagine what Tom Brady is slowly dying. What his kind of the energy he's putting out and what he is and what he stands for. Again, the number 12 goes back to that Joe Namath energy. If you kind of see how numbers go. Numbers come from these other players. The energy passes. This is why they pick the numbers. Again, if you looked at why LeBron wears 23, you have to go back to Jim Brown. That's the Jim Brown energy that they tagged him with, was 32. And then that transferred to OJ. And then that transferred to Michael Jordan, because it's just the reverse of it. It's the same number. Dr. J. This is why you see that number. It's a marking. And I've talked many times about the 42. It's the same way. It's a marking and a marking. So, hey, Marcus the Great, could it be reason KD chose 7 this year? Yeah, because that kind of breaks, trying to think. Wow. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that. Because that kind of does break, because he was wearing 35. Jim Nance, kind of have to think of a few guys. But Jim Nance, who played with the Patriots, was 35. It's a couple other 35s in there. I'd have to do a little more research. But 7 is interesting because it kind of does break. Okay, it would go with Pistol Pete, because when Pistol Pete stopped being 44, when he went to the Jazz, he wore 7. That is probably why. He's probably feeding a little bit off the Pistol Pete energy. Good question. I hadn't thought about that. Either way, it's a win back-to-back for Mahone. Yeah. I mean, Patty is going to, I mean, it's a bonus for winning. I mean, the winners get a little more money, but still, it's like you get a ring for winning either championship. That's why they gave him trophies, because before, he was the champion of that league, and it wasn't until the 67-68 season that they decided, or maybe 66-67 season, that they merged. So you get a ring. So even if you lose the Super Bowl, you get a championship ring still. Now, I don't think they get a championship. I think they do. I think even the Super Bowl winners get a championship ring, and they get the Super Bowl ring. And you get a ring for playing in the All-Star game. You get a ring for being all pro. But that was a good question. I hadn't thought about that. But yeah, it is. It's the performance. It's what people want. Like right now, all the money is on Kansas City. If you're watching the betting, everybody. I mean, even Saturday Night Live was saying how much an underdog they were. And it makes me go back when who was it? The first Denver Super Bowl win with Elway. Everyone thought, who did they play? They played Atlanta that year? But everyone thought that they were going to lose, and then they ended up winning, which again, it's all, but as a script, it wasn't until the morning of the Super Bowl, and I was seeing everybody was like, thought that Denver had a chance. And I was like, wow. So I saw kind of how the narrative, a couple of days had changed. But right now, I'm talking about a lot of money. One cat bet, what did he bet? The biggest bet was, I didn't write that down. But I think a cat bet 2.3 and was only going to win another $1 million. He was going to win $1 million on something like 2.3, but he bet on the Chiefs. So we'll see. We'll see, but it's a ton of money on the Chiefs. Even probably the small bookies are all still making a lot of bets, holding a lot of money. So that's going to be interesting. And so even now, this is something we can look at the script too. Chiefs win, but don't cover. That would mess a lot of people up. Now, if the Chiefs win, they won't cover. So it'll be by 2 or 1. That's a narrative that could be in there too. Chiefs win, but not cover. They could be setting that up. And, that would mess a lot of people's money, that the Chiefs don't cover, because all the money giving up them 3 points. So It's a mild day. I do have a one subject I do want to bring up too is um a lot of times I talk about different sports figures, and you have to look at like how humble some of these cats really were, and how and not disrespectful, but also how ignorant these guys were about just finances and businesses. And so I bring this up because just a little study of Joe Louis. I mean, Joe Louis was a dude that quit going to school like in elementary school, couldn't read or write. Muhammad Ali couldn't read or write. You often see him with a Quran. Ali could not read or write. I mean, he might have had some basic understanding, but he couldn't, and neither could Joe Frazier. What and it's like if you look at the first time Joe Louis loses, he loses to Max Smelling. But despite him losing to Max Smelling doesn't get to fight for the championship. They let Joe Louis fight, I think, Billy Conn. The contract he signed to fight Billy Conn was one of the worst contracts of all time. I think what he signed away to fight Billy Conn, and they threw the race thing in there because because you're a darky, we've got to throw this in there. Don't you know Billy Conn got something like 18 to 20% of all Joe Louis's future royalties for like 10 years? 10 years. He had to pay that man still. And why would his now do you see why would his managers want to go along with this? Do you understand? The managers did this to hurt Joe too, to make sure that someone else, another European, got to make money off Joe instead of Joe making the money. And then Joe did two fights, one for the Navy, one for the Army. It's $2 million that he donated all the purse. And his people didn't file the proper taxes. And they put Joe as making $2 million he didn't pay taxes for. They hounded this man the rest of his life. Probably, hounded him enough, put cocaine around him. In the 60s, cocaine started showing up more and more. And hounded this man to an early grave. One of the treasures I lost was my father went to his funeral. His funeral was in, I believe, the Joe Louis. I think it was funeral. I forget it was called the Cobo then. It wasn't called the Joe Louis. It was called the Cobo. And my father gave me a program from the funeral. And this is just how the people were done, and people that he supposedly trusted with all this big money, and yet he suffered, and they didn't suffer at all. And so when we think about him and what he went through, we have to kind of understand the way he was used. I don't know if a lot of you guys know that Jackie Robinson was almost court-martialed. Matter of fact, there's a TV show or an HBO movie you can find about Jackie Robinson being court-martialed. Or attempted court-martial. Joe Louis actually helped Jackie Robinson get into officers candidate school. Jackie had a degree from UCLA, and because of his college degree, he was able to make second lieutenant. But he was down south, sitting on the bus with a friend, and apparently it wasn't in the way back. It's like in the middle. And the bus driver went off on him and was calling him nigga and all this. And Jackie was kind of going off. And so when the superiors came, Jackie was still going off. So Jackie didn't get charged for where he was sitting. Jackie got charged for subordination because he wasn't treated like a man. It was like here he was, an officer, was wronged by a civilian, and his superiors kind of like drilled him like he had made a mistake. And that blew his mind, and he went off on all of them. No, luckily he did not get court-martialed. He, within 2 weeks after being found not court-martialed or not guilty, he got out the Army, got a good general discharge, honorable discharge, and within a month he was playing with the Dodgers. And his plan to help destroy the Negro Leagues. Because you have to really look at Jackie Robinson as the person that destroyed the Negro Leagues, almost single-handedly. Single-handedly. A lot of the owners did not want really to merge players. They were making good money off renting their stadiums out. Again, a lot of the games were Negro League teams and a Major League team. And if the Negro League teams were one of the better teams, they were packing the stadium too. So those white owners was like, we're with it. Some of the states, some of the teams had their own stadiums. Just imagine if Jackie Robinson had courage and said, look, let's just keep our thing going. And they invested in building stadiums. And just like I talk about Red Grange, if Red Grange would have demanded his own team, he attempted his own league. But if he had the foresight in the very beginning to be part of owner, let me own part of this. What is everybody saying? Marcus, I saw you read my soul. Either way, yep. Might be Andy Reid's revenge on Tom. Could be. Hey, Tiger Strong, thank you for joining. Tampa Bay is a lock. I hear you, Tiger Strong. Hey, King Kane, good to see you in here. The elites want to make Brady the greatest athlete ever. I can't say I disagree with that. I can't just say I disagree. I think the full scenario is as follows: is either Brady's going to win, and not only is Brady going to win, we're going to see a replay of Russell Wilson's play. We're going to see Patty get shamed. He's going to look like Manning did. Manning, they were about to go down and tie New Orleans, and he throws a pick six. He throws a pick six. So I can see them shaming him like that. But the scenario where Kansas City wins, all that money on Kansas City. And what would be the most, honestly, what would be the most believable would be Mahomes winning, but not covering. Only winning by 1 or 2, not covering the 3.5. That's the only way Kansas City will win. And that would, Vegas would make a killing in that regard. Vegas would make a killing. So, Brady be the greatest unathletic. Yeah, JR's move. Golf to Detroit, crazy. Oh, they made the trade? I didn't see that they traded Golf for Detroit's quarterback, Stafford. Stafford is close to Joe Namath type, close to Jeff George. To me, the most pure passer I ever watched was Jeff George. I mean, you looked at a quarterback that had everything, the nice size, but a cannon in the perfect form. The closest to Dan Marino and Joe Namath was Jeff George. I mean, it really was just the way the natural get down. Damn. Whereas Brady doesn't really remind you of anybody, not even at his youngest, because you knew all his games were manipulated. I mean, just as they made Steffen, they had already learned how to make somebody. Tom Brady is a total, really, the commissioner. He's a total creation of the commissioner. David Stern looked at how, or the commissioner looked at how David Stern created Michael Jordan, and he followed the same way, and did Brady the same exact way what was done for Jordan. So he already had a stencil, and all he had to do was, cookie cutter, and all he had to do was put it in motion, and they're still going after it. They don't want that to die. Honestly, look at what they want. Look at what America really wants. America still wants the stiff guy standing back there like Custer, standing there, Stonewall Jackson. That's what America wants. That is the only reason these old dudes are still playing. They've made them play. And Drew Brees even wants to come back. Wife giving up excuses, saying he had a torn rotator cuff. I have a torn rotator cuff right now. right now. And it's causing other issues. I'm sure when I hurt my elbow, it had a little bit to do with it. Well, I kind of fell, caught myself, my elbow bent, but it still probably has something to do with it. But I know people that had this and they damn sure ain't throwing footballs. But again, they're trying to save face and saying this is the reason why my husband sucked. He was hurt. So please take us back and give us another 30 million. It's like when Kobe was old, it made no sense the amount of money he was paid. It made no sense at all, not rational business sense. When he was in his mid to late 30s to extend him and give him more. Why? Yep, Godell. Yep, people idolize these frauds. They do. They again. Rodgers to Raiders or Colts. We'll see. Needs to bounce. Yeah, he needs to bounce. Fact. Last 2 years, Kobe contract. Yeah, it made no sense with Kobe. But again, they try to keep these idols alive because they symbolize something else. And it's almost a joke to try to watch and try to believe. Now George Blanda played, let me get this right, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. George Blanda played in all those different decades. And I think Brady is damn near there. What did Brady start in 04, 05, something like that? So he's played about in 3 decades. But George Blanda was mostly a kicker. I mean, he played a couple seasons or where the quarterback got hurt, but he was a kicker. Well, matter of fact, George Blanda played in the first AFL championship game. I think they won when he played with the Houston Oilers. I think they won the initial AFL championship game. Well, Kobe did score 60. Yeah, JR, that was crap. He shot 50 times. And they played no defense. It was like when he scored 81, they let him score 81. Watch the game. They show that game all the time. Watch the game and watch how they let him score, and basket manipulation. I'll tell you one of the sloppiest games. David Robinson. They let David Robinson score 60, 70. I watched that game. No one was trying. If you ever try to catch that game where David Robinson scored 60 or 70, I think he was a scoring leader or something, but he scored 60 or 70. And I mean, literally, it is worse than the Globetrotters. The game watching it was worse than the Globetrotters. The lack of people trying, everybody standing around. It's like when Russell Westbrook averaged a triple-double. His team would block out people so he could only be getting the rebound, not them. It would be plays where it would come near a defender and the defender or come near one of his teammates. If Westbrook was sort of near, the teammate would clear out and let Westbrook get the rebounds. I mean, it was all manipulated, all of it, like a script. So we just see it, and I think I must be making, a lot of people are picking up on basket manipulation. A lot of people have the skills to do the editing, to get it to look neat, to get it more convincing. And I'm not, like Draco helps with that. I am not against that at all. Anyone helps to take down the corruption of the continuous ball game, I applaud. I applaud. And I have no any feelings. Continue to work. Continue, because that's what the hero twins are about. I work with my brothers. If I've given anyone inspiration, good. I know my shortcomings. I know. And I'm glad people can make the work look better, because let's get the word out there. I look at today as still, we'll just keep trying to get the word out there and see where we go. Well, guys, I will go do the divination now. And today, I believe we are on day 3. I believe it is day 3. So it's 13 platoons, 0 contunes, 8 tunes. We have 4 Uno, and we have 3 kin. And 3 kin would be Akbal, which is house, enclosing darkness, night, body, place of mystery, heart, and internal organs. And the energy is coming out of the west. And we would be here. Kind of a fun one to draw. That is the fractal for anybody that wants to download that. Because again, we are visual people. When we see spiritual images, it's that are originate in the Americas. A lot of us have the ability to download it. All right. In this image, we see a girl who went to Kalali, the sacred house, to pray or to meditate. We know that she is doing because we know what she is doing because she's in front of her. There's a sign of the moon, which represents the mind. The symbols on top represents the water, fluctuation, the arrow, temptation, and the heart, passion, and feelings. With this simple symbolic system, the Toltec painter shows us the full meaning of Kalali as the place for introspection and reflection about issues of life. Having emphasized the spirit character of the word Kali, now we may consider the general meaning as house, which is also the container of family life, or the living hearts of people, and also the container of the sleeping time and the precious dreaming time, which was so important for the Toltec people. Kali represents your home, again, your family, your house, your personal, intuitive world, as opposed to your external working and social environment. The house is the temple where you keep what is most sacred for you, and it is the source for the renewal of your energy and strength. If your house does not fulfill those functions, that means you need to examine how you are dealing with your intimate world. When you get this card, you will be looking at your life, home life, and at your own persona as it is affected by what you are experiencing there. You will be examining your close family relationships, which will include not only those who live with you under the same roof, but also those relatives who may not live in the same house, but whom you keep a close connection to. You will also be looking at the role of the spirit in your home. Occasionally, you may relate Kali to your dreaming world, especially if at the same time you're consulting the Toltec Oracle. You are having repetitive dreams that leave you with strong feelings in their meaning. Is very important to your life. In such times, you may do the readings by associating this card with its placement on the board with the. Don't be surprised if both the association with your home and family life or association with the dreams turn out to be one and the same. So, and the thing about if you have repetitive dreams, the thing about it is what you need to do is you need to write it down. And so the more you have it, you can write down the differences. And a lot of times you as the scenes play out and you return to it, you're able to more and more will be revealed. So that's a good way to kind of play that more and more will reveal. I did want to show a book, and this book is kind of deep. Again, this book deals with Gnosticism. Gnosticism is a Christian sect, one of the early Christian sects that really didn't believe that the Jesus character was a real person, but it was actually a metaphor. Gnosticism also gets in Yabatha, Sophia's son, and it gets into Sophia. Beautiful writings, but again, it is Christianity. But so saying the whole story about what it is, you don't have to tie into the dogma, but they give a good representation of a lot of the religions. And the chapters are called Gnostic Spirituality and Literalist Religion, a religion detox, the word of God, the most famous man who never lived. Muhammad, from mystic to mobster, because the word actually in Islam, mafia is an Arabic word, which relates to Muhammad. The Laughing Jesus. And again, the Laughing Jesus tells a story of Jesus and his partner sitting there watching another Jesus actually get crucified. And he's sitting there laughing. Him and his man, as they both vaping, they are both smoking some shatter. And so they're just getting it on. And And his man is like, why are you laughing? And he's like, they're killing an old rag. They're just killing the idea. They are not killing the energy. So I'm sitting here getting high and I'm drinking beer. And it's like, that shit's funny to me because they don't understand what they're doing. It ain't hurting me at all. And so this gets into it, but this is the introduction to that. And in the end, back of the book, there's some helpful practices about how to basically, it's called a philosopher wake up. And it's like it says, the first step is to wake up. Again, that's kind of the last 10 years. We have sleepers and waking up. Witness, the second step is to change perspective by disengaging from your life person and consciously being awareness, witnessing all that you're experiencing. The third step is to embrace everything within compassion, awareness, and be one with all with big love. And really, what big love really means is see the whole picture, not one side of things. Because really, how can you give your all to something, or how really, if you don't know, if there's something there and you don't know everything about it, you only know one side, you're doing yourself a disservice, disfavor. So appreciate and improve, stay conscious of being oneness of awareness, unconditionally appreciating life as it is. Now also pay attention in your experiencing of appearing to be a person, how you can act from love to transform yourself in the world to improve our collective experience of the life dream. And so this is just one of the books that I bought in 05 or 06. Let me see what year it came out. I think it was new because I bought it from Barnes and Nobles. And let's see. This is something I teach my daughter on all books. I'm like, look up the born on date. 2005. So I bought this back in 2005. And he has a whole series. But again, it's Christianity. So that's the whole story. Oh, this would be great. Yeah. That's the whole story. What did I miss? Slacks 2 years. Kobe did, 60 points, all magnets. It's the magnets. Tiger Strong, Matt Ryan to the Niners. I don't see that. Well, he played for the dude before, so that dude threw the game. Call hurry up. you win it and you in field goal range, and then you run hurry up spread. Who does that? Who snaps it when you're winning by 24? Who snaps it with 3 seconds? With three, who snaps it? What do they get? 30 seconds? Who snaps it within 2 or 3 seconds and you don't run the clock down? First down was a run play. So you take the full 25 seconds. They didn't do that. They run spread. And then for third down, they dropped him back over 10 yards. Who calls that? Who would call a play that would put you out of field goal range if the play didn't work? See, that's how they script it. That is how they script it. JR, the magnet. I love that 60-point game, but it was planned. 2 + 4 is 6, and he scored 60. Yeah. Hey, Lamb, thank you. Or I am Q, thank you for joining. What's your take on the birds? And you got to give me a little more than that. I am Q. Give me a little more than that. That is not a full question. Now, if you're talking about birds, well, you got to give me the question. That's not the right question. That's very vague. Come with a better question, and I'll answer it. But I just try to tie. Let me see. Eagles. What is your take on Eagles? Oh, take on the Eagles. Oh, my team. They're I don't understand the owner. The owner let Chip Carey, or Chip, whatever Chip's last name was, he let Chip get rid of all the good players that fit in his scheme to let him pay a player that carried 300 times a year before. And you bring him in, and it's like you never looked at, does he fit your system? He thought he was sticking it to the Cowboys. The Cowboys was glad to get rid of him because they knew he was spent. But the owner allowed it. Chip was, I think, making general managers' decisions too. He got rid of any challenges on his team. Then you give Carson Wentz all that money off of what? His rookie season? That's about the only season he played well. Every year he got hurt. Matter of fact, the year after they won the Super Bowl, they was one drop pass on going back to the Super Bowl, if you remember, or going back to the championship game at least. What was it? Jeffries dropped a first down. Foles had hit him perfectly, and he drops the ball. So they're tied into what is it? March, whatever the first business day of the NFL. They're tied into a 10 million. He gets a 10 million bonus if he's on the team on that day, on March, the first day, business day of the NFL. And then he's guaranteed 20 plus million. 20 plus million. They cut him, they still take a hit, salary cap hit of about 25 million. But they wouldn't owe him. I think he would only get he wouldn't get the full 25 million if they cut him. But then it would stop their ability to get better players. So I don't understand the owner, why he made that decision. And then you see he technically picked Wentz over Peterson. But he had to fire Peterson because of what Peterson did in this playoff game. Yeah, Ashton dropped it, yeah. Oh, that's my favorite team too. Matter of fact, they're selling the $10 stocking hats. And I needed to go back out there. And even though it didn't get funky, the weather didn't get funky, I was too lazy to go out there and get one because they had a couple of different kinds. Yep. But I got a bunch of Eagles stuff too and hats. Hey, how do you think the Matthew Stafford will do in Los Angeles this year? I mean, I showed where he threw like a lot of his bad plays are scripted, but he's still one of the most competent throwers in the league. Accuracy is unmatched. His release, he gets the ball out quick when they don't script him to lose. But again, he's up there in age. He's had a couple injuries the last few seasons. Again, he ain't mobile, but neither was Goff. And the type of what they run, they don't really run mobile anyway. They want to hit you with the runs, hit you with screens, and then throw the ball downfield in shotgun spread. So he fits that system. He fits it. It's like you get a older of what you had. Golf is now Stanford's more talented. So he fits in the system. Malcolm Jenkins, just like they traded Brady to the Bucs, knowing the Super Bowl was going to be held there. Yeah. I was basing my thing on what Deion Sanders said last season. He said would never happen, or the season before, I forget. Because some people was thinking the Vikings was going to end up playing here. And then they play the Eagles, and I was telling my best friend, I was like, yeah, the people, he knew some people that was going to the game, and I told him, I said, tell him don't wear none of the jerseys. I told him, said, not in Philadelphia. People don't play that shit. Even ask Stephen A. Smith. You don't wear that shit because you think about this. When the old stadium, Vet Stadium, had a jail in it. The old hockey arena had a jail in it. Now the hockey arena has a place where you can go break old electronics. But the old both places used to have jails in it. Old Vet Stadium was the worst stadium ever. One player in Old Vet Stadium broke both his kneecaps because it was like a plank. I couldn't even describe to you guys the type of stadium they played in. What the grounds were. The grounds were literally grass on top of like plywood. They had like a plywood base with sand over the plywood and then turf on top of that. It was a cat out of LSU that came down on that crap and tore both his kneecaps. Baltimore one time refused to play in a preseason game. This field was so bad. So, but I told my friend, I said, you tell them don't wear that crap up there. I said they will be bothered because you got to walk through them neighborhoods. You ain't parking around the stadium. You parking downtown, and you paying for where you park, and you got to walk some blocks unless you catch one of them trams or the buses or the trains. Here in Minnesota, you can catch the train to take you right to the stadium. You park somewhere, and or you Uber downtown, and then you can jump on the train, and then you can go to the stadium like that. But I don't think I haven't been to the new stadium. So in Philadelphia, you got to walk, and they showed some of the Vikings fans getting hit with beer bottles and shit. But he told his friends what I said, and they was like grateful. They went to the game and they didn't wear no Viking stuff. He was like, "You were right, because they were getting harassed, and they were showing them on video getting harassed. They don't play that stuff up there. They love their Eagles. Remember, Philadelphia, they threw snowballs at Santa Claus. They booed Santa Claus. They was bombing on Santa Claus. You know, Eagles fans mad that they lose every year." I agree. The crap drops from the top, and Jeff was taking too much, like he was trying to set up a Toyota with 100 miles on it. Exactly. We still wild higher you get at the link. Okay. It ain't friendly on Broad Street in South Philly on Sundays. That's what I'm saying. It's like I'm telling these people. He told his friends, and he said, "Yeah, my friend said thank you. He appreciate the advice." Yeah. Like telling people who go to New York, don't take a car. It's like you go to New York, you don't want to take a car because the car gonna cost you just as much to stay, to put your car, as it is, like I'm talking about Manhattan, as it is to you to stay there. So it doesn't make sense to take a car. If you can dig it. And New York is a dirty damn city. All that shit it's old looking as hell, and it's dirty. It's a smell that you just like, damn. Like I always have like Chicago to me is always the refineries. Always the refineries, Lake Michigan and the refineries. But when I get like going through Calumet, taking 94 into Chicago, it's just since I was a little boy, I remember that smell. Planter peanuts, downtown Chicago, and refineries. That is my earliest memories of Chicago. I think I first went to Chicago. I wasn't in school, so I was about 4. And we went, I mean, both sides, my stepfather and my father's family had people in Chicago. So we was all, matter of fact, my stepfather's sister, my aunt, lived in Chicago. So we always went down there. We would catch the train, we would drive. And from where we lived, it was about an hour and 10 minutes where we lived in Michigan. So as a young man, I went to Chicago a lot. And then when I refed in Chicago for over about 10 years. Every weekend, drove down there, or Kenosha, or Chicago. For what is it, Forest Hills? Here we got a Lake Forest Lake, maybe. I forget what that's called. Whoops. All right. Do you have any advice on setting up your first altar? Oh, okay. Yeah. You still hire. It ain't fully friendly on Broad Street. Do you have any? Yeah. It really depends. Like if you want to set up something to your ancestors, the best thing is put the pictures up, put colors that you know they liked, put like some candy, and definitely put some water. Bottled water works the best. You can kind of mess your glasses up. Well, don't use tap water. If you put water in a glass, but water and candy, that is a way to give something to your ancestors, if that's the type of altar. But if it's just a spiritual altar and not an ancestor altar, you have to find. Now I talk about fractals, but also talismans. Talismans is another thing that kind of can give you a little energy and work for you in some ways. That's kind of what knickknacks are for. Like knickknacks can be talismans. But my point is if there's something that some kind of figure or fractals that you're tied to, or it raises your vibration, is what my point. I mean, I'm just going to give you an example, and you don't have to do this, but I'm saying it's like I got a place, I keep my skulls all together. Well, I keep all the skulls together in one place. So I'm just giving this as an example. Now I use this one for protection, but right here, but that's kind of how you do it. It's like what colors do you personally like? What kind of little knickknacks? And then like it's always good for sage. It's always good candles. What smells you can take. So those kind of things. And crystals always definitely can amplify. And you don't even, selenite and then quartz. I don't even know if I have any quartz around. Most quartz are over there. But quartz are cheap, And I mean, really, tourmaline, again, for protection is cheap. So those kind of things, that's all it takes. So you have to find out, do you want an ancestor's altar? And you can have both. So that's what you have to look at is what do you vibe with? Like your house, everything in your house you should vibe with. All the colors, everything, because remember, you done paid for the shit. You done brought the shit in here. Now, if something in the house doesn't work, you got to get rid of it. If you just get an uneasiness, get rid of it. I talk about the Mayans. The Mayans broke their shit every year. They cleaned their whole house out every year. Broke all the shit in the house, built new shit. And it helped the economy of everyone because everybody did it. And so the basket weavers, the table makers, and the whole economy benefited from this because everybody was transitioning to the new year. So they got rid of the old stuff because they wanted new stuff with new energy. Well, that's kind of expensive. So that would be my advice. Never drive in to get in only for tolls is like $40. What? Really? Wow. $40 in tolls. Yeah, no parking. Yeah, definitely no parking. It's going to cost you as much to park as to stay, maybe more. I mean, New Jersey, if you want to stay like, what is it, Alexander, New Jersey, across the Washington Bridge that goes into Alexander, is cheaper. Cheaper to stay out there. Leave your car out there. But hell, people forget that Delaware is right near New York City. I believe you can take a train from New York to Boston. You can take a train, I think, or Philadelphia. I forget which one it is. So, but yeah, that's. I mean, New York was fun when I was younger. I tell you, it was mind blowing to going into the Bronx in the '80s. I had never seen anything like it. Not even the South Side Chicago compared to Bronx in the '80s. Like when you see Beach Street and you see them abandoned, like blowed up houses, it's blocks and blocks of that. Like I was following a dude who goes around the hoods in the nation, and he was showing how Detroit is now, but in the '80s, I remember how the Bronx was. It was like, wow. One of my teammates was telling me, and I didn't believe it. And then we got to driving around there. I'm like, this is really mind blowing that this exists. That the neighborhoods look like they've been bombed out. So, but Detroit looks like that now. Hey, Steve, thank you. Thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it. I'm looking at both. I want to do something spiritual, but I also like to get into touch with Anak, Arwak, ancestors, and get in touch with the energy of the Yakuwa. Then put up, like if you have anything of their fractals that represent them, and you can put up two separate ones. That's no problem. Put up two separate ones. And so put one that's your spiritual for you and what your aim is, and then put one that goes to the ancestors. And you can tie them together, but I mean, I would separate them because they would do different work kind of than what your personal thing is. And so, yeah, and just the more you study about those backgrounds, add those things. The more you learn about the culture and the fractals, add those things to it. Yeah. And that's kind of how you put it together. The landlords would burn down buildings to collect insurance checks. I'll tell you, I had a landlord do that. I had a landlord where I was a cop then, and my second wife, I worked nights, so I was like 50 miles away in another town. And her and her cousin were in our apartment. We had an upstairs apartment at the time. I think we had a 2 or 3 bedroom. But there was a vacant building next door to us, and our landlord burned that shit down. And my ex-wife and her cousin thought somebody was trying to break in the house, so they hid in the closet. And they didn't really know. And then her cousin was like, this ain't a break-in. There's something else going on. And she looked out, and the building next door, I mean, the building was probably only about 10, 15 yards from, I mean, the buildings were right next to each other. So as that building got to spewing out fire, it went into our apartment and started burning the picture window. We had a picture window that faced that building, and it burned all that shit out. And I know he did it. I know he did it. And luckily, her cousin got out and said, "I don't think this is a break-in. We better see what's going on." And then they ran out. And then I come back after freaking working 12 hours and driving an hour home. You know, I got to come back to a damn smoky apartment. You know, we had to go get a hotel and shit. So yeah, they do that. The government flooded the streets with cocaine in the 70s, 80s, big time. Well, yeah, of course. I talked about that story many times. You know, the government invented crack. I mean, our government has been behind all drugs. I've said this many times. I got a hold of Gary Webb's information when it came out. I've always been a researcher. And when that stuff came out, I was trying to tell people, I was like, nah, this is the CIA stuff. People didn't believe me. And then I always looked at, I saw the hustle. Even when I became a cop, I saw the hustle. I talked many times about the 22 keys that was missing from Kalamazoo police evidence locker. I know who they took it from. And then within a week to 2 weeks, that shit's back on the street. So that just convinced me. I'm like, these mugs, this is their business. But again, I talked about what they did. You know, when you look at in the 50s of the car industry, these millionaires who wanted to be billionaires knew that for their families to make more money, they had to destroy unions, and move to states that ain't got other unions or don't have, don't have unions. And they did that in the late 70s, mid 80s. That's what they did. And they destroyed Detroit. They destroyed Cleveland. They destroyed Flint, Gary, Indiana, Cleveland. They destroyed these cities and replaced it with crack. All these jobs that families came from the South during the Northern migration when they gave up their land because of these Northern jobs that were plentiful, won World War II for them. I appreciate you. Whenever I'm up to catch you live, you've always been responsive. Well, thank you, IMQ. Right to work states in Asia, South America. Yeah, that's right. I am from Cleveland. Yeah, exactly. So they replaced it with crack. They made informants the dealers. I mean, Snowfall don't show that they informants. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. But it gives a good idea. But Deep Cover shows you too. Deep Cover was the one movie, but even Scarface shows you. Scarface was a CIA agent. Remember, he murders the dude in the camp. He murdered him from the CIA. And I thought it was stupid as hell. You done murdered this dude, but you won't blow up a dude with his family. They needed Old Dog. See, Scarface should have Old Dog working for him. He's like, hey, Old Dog, I got a senator you need to blow up. He would have had no problem. Old Dog would have went right on the dude bumper. Remember, the dude was like, get a little closer so I can blow him up. And then Scarface kills him in the car. Old Dog would have been like, yeah, right here. Old Dog would have pulled up, got closer. Kablooey. What Old Dog say? I don't care who out there. The mama, the daddy, the kids, children, anybody. They all going down. That's total war. But you have the drug informant get unconscious. They wanted you to feel for this drug informant, this drug mastermind. I mean, the CIA set him up to pinch him with the money. These people already know this dude is a government agent, but they put that fake thing on you to say, well, see, even though he was a government agent, he still got him for taxes. You see how stupid they try to do it? But you know what? All these rappers in the 90s was like, we like to come up. And I was thinking, you like the come up of an agent, of a snitch? This is what you admire. But that just shows you. And it goes back to the understanding in sports. Why the mask in sports? Seriously, a lot of people only understand society through sports. That is why the heaviness from the bubble. Reporters wearing masks. Now they putting them all separate or they at home. because people there are people out there that only get their everything from sports. Their whole lives revolve around sports. So they get their culture and what they believe through sports. So if they see the sports person doing it, remember the commercial? Well, I know a lot of people don't remember the commercials in the 60s. There was some nasty smelling shit called high karate, and I can't remember Walt Frazier or somebody trying to sell some nasty ass damn high karate. You put that shit on your face. Remember Home Alone? He put that shit on his face and burned the hell out your face. That's how high karate used to do you. Some nasty smelling shit that's aftershave. Google high karate. But it's like that's how people relate through sports. Old Dog was Old Dog was one of the best masculine characters that we've ever seen. And he doesn't die. Remember, Old Dog didn't die at the end. Old Dog was shooting back at their ass. Old Dog made it. Old Dog, I actually, to be honest with you, if they didn't do a bias, he should have won an Academy Award for that betrayal. He really should have. A nomination, the least. One of the best betrayals of just a straight up killer. I mean, he got disrespected by people that were making money off the neighborhood, but didn't respect the people. I had forgot, in what year was that? 78 or 80, a Korean woman shot a child. I forgot about that shit because that was around that time that movie was made. But they put the opposite in there, where the Korean disrespected us. He was like, "What? What did you say about my mama?" And so they did the opposite of what a Korean had done to one of our people. I don't know if a lot of people got that. But it was one of the most masculine, strongest characters that we've seen ever. And again, what he said was the most powerful thing of total war. I don't care who's out there. This is what I'm about. I'm a straight up. And so I like that character. I don't think Tupac would have played it as good as he did. What do you say about? Yeah, that's it. What did you say about my mama? That used to be an instant fight. Good writing of scripts back in the 90s. I mean, they made a strong character. I mean, even Furious's character it was just in a lot of ways a positive movie. And the thing, like, if you looked at Boys in the Hood, it made no sense. And I think that was part of it. It was to show you that the violence made no sense, because there was like there was no shooting at first. It was just kind of bumping each other. So why would Ricky be murdered? And I watched the thing the other day of the actor who kills Ricky and Boy in the Hood, and how this cat like ends up getting murdered, going to prison. I mean, it was like this guy really had flipped out. It was like the fame just eluded him, and he was like at the cusp of it. And a lot of these cats, they can't take it. They don't make it. They can't take it because they're right there. They see it, and the golden ticket is not given to them, and it flips people out. It flips people out. Okay, let me look up. Jay, you missed my other comment. Have you seen the old school movie Blood In, Blood Out, or the movie Gang Colors? Yeah, I saw both. Blood In and Blood Out in Colors. I saw them out. Wasn't Blood In, Blood Out where he goes into the prison on purpose because somebody killed his girlfriend or his brother or something? But yeah, I saw those. I saw both of those. I'm sorry. Yeah, I saw. Yeah, I answered. Yep. Yeah, so I saw both of those. American Me, the 3-hour movie, American Me. Remember what they did at the end of American Me? They got the mob boss's son, and they stuck the prong shit up his ass. Or what was that movie? What's his name? LL Cool J. Love it. He's sticking with showing sodomy really, but he's sticking the pool cue up the dude's ass, talking about love it. That wicked looking shit. Yep. But I saw those movies. Colors is a trip, they saw they can make money off of characters. That's what they saw. Like I show how OG Mac was a CIA operative. I show that too, and they all that's going, or it's in other files. And OG Mac took the Bloods to New York through the prison systems. They was allowed to control the prison. Like they showed the amount of stabbings that happened in the prison. That's they're letting them do it. They're working with the gang. And so that put the Bloods in New York by the CIA, FBI. That's why people get mad about the Panthers. That's a real thing. The FBI created all that stuff. If you watch the Chicago 7 movie that's on Netflix, you see how they infiltrate everything. One dude, the girl was his girlfriend. She was an FBI agent. And something I didn't say on slideshow that I want to say, and I'm sorry I didn't put it on slideshow. When we did it, Sly and I talked about it before, but I'll say this: this movie coming up is going to glorify in some ways the snitch. You are some way going to feel sorry for Willie O'Keefe. Now, I don't know if they're going to show, because Willie O'Keefe was forced to testify because they kind of tried not to get him to testify. And I don't know if they're going to show this in the movie, but this is a real thing. They put a big amount that Illinois had to pay him, but when real money, Clark's family and Chairman Fred's family got about $400,000. The lawyers got almost that same amount. And that's another thing. Jewish faith lawyers were Fred's lawyers. They were in the hood, representing the hood, the radicals. Do you see how this all works? The hood, the radicals. I mean, it's like when we do things organic and we really want to rub the system the wrong way, they start sending in agents. Again, in Battle Creek, Michigan, I watched a snitch create a gang. Then they put up these false sides of a town of 50,000 people or less. There's no sides of town. It's one side. And they got these dudes fighting each other. Oh, you from this side. There's no sides in this little town. Literally no sides. It's one little town. But this is how they do it. This is how they manipulate the minds and make people fight each other. Again, it's the Cain and Abel. They don't want people to know about the hero twins. And like the dude who I was saying that created a gang in Michigan, I talked to his daddy and asked his daddy, was he snitching? And his daddy said he had to do what he had to do. So his daddy confirmed it because he was one of my best friends at the time. So put that there. Pour some water. But see, those movies was made to sell. They was made to sell. It's like, perfect example. My brother and I had a dual wedding in, let me see, we got married in 86, I think. No, maybe the summer of 87. But I bring this up because his first wife, when she was in high school her senior year, they was wearing shirts inside out. Don't you know by that spring they were selling shirts inside out? I mean, they pick up the culture. See, that's why the thing about black is not a people. Black is a culture. And it's a culture that the people that create the culture don't benefit from. And the same thing as sports. Now again, the Jesuits and the Jewish faith people created basketball. That's a fact. And some Masons had a hand in football, but it wasn't created. The Masons didn't create football because Walter Camp played college football. You don't do enough studying. You say water, camp created football. It's like Doubleday, Alexander Doubleday. The dude who wrote the current baseball is Cartwright. But then again, they only copied something that existed before. Again, they create inventors because they really don't know who invented the shit. So they put a name on it to say they invented the shit. They can't say they invented lacrosse. They create these sports that's very similar to lacrosse. The Hero Twins game. I mean, the dude who created basketball just looked at a Mayan temple that had the sacred ball game hoops. Some hoops was up high, some was low. But again, the continuous game also is about healing courts. I'm the only one on the internet that talks about that part. That you can go to a park and heal. Energy never leaves. It's continuous. Long as someone's playing the ball game, long as someone's dribbling, the game lives. That's the organic part about it. They don't control that. A child at home just playing with a ball. You are continuing something that existed in America almost when the first people started existing and creating the rubber for the balls. American History X is a white man's wet dream. Ha, that's funny. Malcolm X head security was undercover. Yes. You think about this Chad Wheeler race baiting propaganda. Well, that's all they do. 8 agents that day he was killed. Well, that's how it is. Look up the killings in Greensboro when I was a freshman. The Klan had an FBI informant with them that told them the Klan had planned on breaking up the communists, and it wasn't really communist. They called it communist, but they actually just trying to create a union for the people that worked in the mills. But I personally used to work for the city and talk to some brothers at work back then. Cops called away. They paid to be able to protest. You pay, get a permit. They had a permit to be out there. So the cops would be out there because these people had a permit. So if anybody thought that they didn't have a permit, cops are out there for that. Like, no, they did all the things. They have a permit to be here. So cops are there. I know for a fact that the cops was called off. Radio silence. Because again, the cops, the city, it's all one radio. I mean, we used to be able to listen to the cop calls when I worked. I knew how to get the radio of the cops. So when I worked for the water department, I could listen to them too, because it was basically all the same network. It was the city network. And back then it wasn't that sophisticated. And the Klan drive up and shoot 5 people, filmed. And no one goes to jail. One man was sued and liable for $100,000. I don't know if he paid. That's it. They have on film. So you see these films and Rodney King beatings, they've been had on film people getting killed and they let them go. Look up the Greensboro killings in 1979. They killed 5 people. One woman was pregnant. And again, it's films of them. You've got peaceful protesters. The protest was called the Death to the Klan. But none of them were armed. And they filmed the Klan going to their trunks, pulling out guns, and just shooting into innocent people with an FBI informant with them. So do you understand, when phones came out, they already knew people were going to film them. They already anticipated that. That's why we all should be mad on what they did to the teenagers. They knew teenagers were going to die texting. Texting is really 2D or 2G, excuse me. They knew this, but it was what they call acceptable risk for their profits. They knew teenagers would die. Remember what Fight Club? And they know the risk. This is what they did to our young people, knowing the addiction of driving and looking at your phone and how emotionally tied teenagers got to the technology. And they let this go. It was acceptable. Acceptable deaths for the prophets. This is our country. This is how they operate. And that wasn't even them being technology ahead of us. That was them doing the analysis. Texting while driving is crazy. I saw a person with a mask on in the car, but texting on 95. Yeah, I mean, you still see it. Like it's almost the country is against the law to mess with your phone, you know. But we all do it. We all answer, look down, you know, directions and all that shit. I mean, we still do it. It's still, but again, it's acceptable. But it doesn't say anything. It doesn't bring back the children that suffered, that they allowed and they predicted and knew that it would happen. They don't invent shit and don't know how the reactions is going to be. They know. They run these scenarios. They got these eggheads in little rooms, just like the people that do all the sports. It's a egghead that looks at society when they bring out shit. I mean, study how they do things. It shows you the way these inventions and the way they test it. They know this shit. When products come out, they know. And they experiment. Ah, shit, that hurt. Oh. Texting while driving is crazy. I saw a person. Yep. Oh, there's my man. What's happening? What's happening, James? Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. They call them think tanks. Absolutely. Read my soul. They do. They do. They do. They call them think tanks. Like I told about my cousin. Pfizer is in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and my cousin. Every time he had never had really good jobs. So every time they had some experimental shit, you can make like a 6-month thing. If you do some of these 6-month trials, you get about $1,000, and you only going about 15, 20 minutes or whatever the study takes. But you're going in there being experimented on, and they might give you $1,000 for 6 months worth of work. You get big things if you do this shit all year. This is a town. That's why, let me tell you this. I knew Pfizer and some of them chemists was making acid that was going around when I was in high school. I have no doubt. Now, let me even go further. Kalamazoo had a problem with people flipping out. Now, again, they killed the water systems in Kalamazoo. They poisoned the river. They killed all the fairy life, all the gnomes, because it takes that. They do a spell to kill all that, the things that would help the water. That is why a Knights Templar is buried in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And so some of that could be at play, but they were putting out these drugs that making these people flip out. And then they were zombies. The rest of their life, they were zombies. I had a best friend like that. We both had scholarships, and I've talked about him before. He had a full ride football and academic scholarship to be an engineer to a private school called Adrian in Adrian, Michigan. And I don't know what happened to him. There's several stories. I was with him. He went to a party with someone else. He told me he had taken some acid and snorted some coke. And this guy had a nervous breakdown at 18 years old and lost his scholarship. He tried to go play football. Apparently, something happened where he climbed up in a tree and took him hours to get him down. And they kicked him out of school after that. He tried to go in the army, sent him home. And I saw him roughly, last time I saw this cat was, my son is 31, so about 30 years ago. Nothing there. Nothing there. Very bright young man, and never did anything. Now, I'll say mental illness ran in his family too. Like I know for a fact, 3 of his brothers had mental issues, so it could have been, hereditary. I don't know. They let them think. Yep. So I just found out this stuff I'm smoking is called crumble. And what crumble is they make the THC into butter instead of just, so when you make wax, you create a button first. You like press a button, and then you put this button in a high pressure machine, and you cook the wax out of it, or the slate. You cook it out of it. It's a little sticky. This other process is they make like a butter, and then they press the butter. It's a little easier to work with. The other is very sticky, and it's kind of hard to drop it in there because it sticks to the tinsel. So nice little thing, but it's like up to date with what's available. Because one of my man, he was on vacation, and his ex, I guess, is a heroin addict, and he said that he broke in his house and stole his gun. I've had crumble before. It is fire. Oh yeah, this is like 90 plus THC. Very smooth, and I'm going to get some more next week. If not, and I've got plenty, and this stuff lasts forever. I just can't. I can't smoke blunts. I don't want bongs. That shit is just too harsh. I gave my other son. I had a glass blunt. I don't know if people know what a glass blunt is, and it takes about 1/8 of weed to fill it up. But you can smoke on it for a while. But again, it's that harsh. That flower is so harsh. It's just too harsh. So this is smoother, a lot smoother, a lot smoother. You can have blunts, young people. It addicts you to tobacco. Now I know I chew on the cigars, but cigars are good in the winter because it does. The tobacco helps your throat. It's dry. Everybody got heat on. So, and I do it because I notice when I talk, I smack. I know Zach Hubbard always kind of sucks his teeth, and I was listening to myself, and I smack. And so I put a cigar in my mouth. I don't smack when I talk. Hey, Wade, have you seen the new trailer for Godzilla King Kong? What's your guess on how the outcome would be? So you're trying to get me mad. I think you are really trying to get me upset in here, bringing that up. I think you're trying to, GR72, I think you are trying to get me mad. I feel a little disrespected you bringing that up because this is the fact. Godzilla is 500 feet tall. King Kong is 15 feet tall. So how does that work? How all of a sudden does King Kong become 500 feet tall? That makes no sense. So it looks good. I like the other two Godzilla movies. I like the character development, bringing the old monsters out, but it's still a hard sell. It's a hard sell. GR, I'm just playing. It's a hard sell to believe that King Kong can all of a sudden accelerate to 500 feet tall. It just, the storyline makes no sense. Yes, Godzilla is 500 feet tall. King Kong is 15 feet tall. Godzilla is like a 50-story building, or not, if not taller, like maybe even close to, probably an 80-story building compared to King Kong. Look at King Kong. He was 15 feet tall. And I know this, my brother, I don't know if my brother ever sees this, but he had a book that shows how tall Godzilla would be and how tall King Kong was. So but it looks good. It looks good. It's actually, Godzilla was kind of Japan's using the dragon energy to kind of get back at the U.S. That's kind of what it was, saying that the radiation that the U.S. put upon them created these their mythical creatures that could kind of respond. So it's a myth of revenge for them. That's what the original Godzilla was, saying that these mutants are your fault, and now these mutants, well, Japan always got messed up. So I never watch any of the new Godzilla movies. Should I? Well, thank you, Rima. So I like the other two. I like the ideas of them mining the monsters. I thought that was kind of interesting. Or what was it? Was that the Godzilla, the Cujos? Or maybe not. But I enjoyed the other two. I enjoyed them. I thought they did a good job with both of them. The first one, the dude was like freaked out. Remember the beginning of the first one? He just kept going. They was like, I don't know Japanese names, but it's like, hey, we'll just say Hank. Like, Hank, what's happening? And Hank was in the bed, and they like Hank was just resting and shit. And they was like, Hank, what happened? And Hank woke up and he said, Godzilla. That's all he could say. That shit was so funny. Hank was like just peaceful and just like they woke up. He's like Godzilla. He couldn't say shit else but Godzilla. Well, what did Hank say? We're trying to figure it out. He's saying some Godzilla shit. And the doctor was like, oh shit, this nigga said Godzilla. So I liked them. I mean, I liked them. Do you like the 1986 one? That was probably the worst of all of them. That was okay. I liked it. You know, I've always I was the 50s Godzilla fan. I mean, the stories of Mothra with the little twins, you know, now you look at it's like the hero twins, the little twins that work with Mothra. So I liked all that. I thought what was silly was the Mega Godzilla. When it got into that was kind of silly, the Mega Godzilla. But, you know, I didn't mind the old ones. I kind of grew up on that. So I didn't mind it. I went to see the 1998 one. King Kong climbs a building to swat down planes. Yes, that's exactly right. Herb, that's exactly right. Godzilla is the building. So I don't know how they're going to write that in, how he went from 15 feet up to 500 feet. But they do it in some of the old ones. In the original King Kong and Godzilla, they ignore the fact that he was much shorter. He all of a sudden is just as big. Because in the old one, Godzilla goes to where he lives or something, and they fight, you know. And I like the one from the Godzilla from '04, I think it was. I remember my boys was scared at one part when they had the medicine man with the bone in his nose, and that scared the shit out of my boys. I remember that part. And it was good seeing the dinosaurs with that and King Kong fighting the dinosaurs, but he had fought the dinosaurs in the other movies. So my brother, he'll probably like that too. He'll probably like that kind of stuff because that's the kind of stuff that interests him as a child, and so just he would get these books, and I would just read through the books, just because he had them. So some of the movie stuff, just because I love books, and he would get the books, and so I would just kind of read them too. So we both kind of understand those kind of myths. He's probably a little better than I would be, but yeah, I watched all that stuff. Ultraman. I watched all that. I was just thinking earlier, like we're gonna try to do an anime show, or I might just do one. But I watched the original TV Superman series. I had my own. Matter of fact, the TV I took to college was old '60s TV that I used to watch the reruns of Superman, the original Superman, that cat that killed himself. I grew up on that kind of stuff, watching the reruns. That Lone Ranger. I know a lot of people don't even like William Tell and shit. William Tell was the bomb. These niggas walking around with crossbows. They crossbowing each other. But the funny part of the movie was they was always on the siege. So they was always climbing up ladders. Like sometimes they would just climb up the ladder and talk to the cats. It was like a whole show of always climbing up ladders, always sieging mugs. But they had the crossbows, so it was really cool. And I want to say William Tell and the Lone Ranger is the same music. That dun 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 dun. It was the same music for the Lone Ranger from William Tell. But the crossbows was cool, and that was that old live TV. But it was like they would shoot crossbows at each other, and it looked kind of like the laser guns almost. They would meet groups of people, and just everybody shooting crossbows at each other. It was so cool. They like cool with their crossbows. Have I seen One Night in Miami? Yeah. King Kong. Yeah, I did. I saw about 40 minutes of it. It kind of turned me off because they made Malcolm shorter than Ali, which in fact Malcolm was close to 6'4". Ali was only 6'2". So it took by not showing how tall Malcolm was, took a little of his strength away. He was a taller man than Ali. I put it on my Facebook page. It was my book on Malcolm does not have, it's a picture. It has there's a picture of them walking in Harlem, and Malcolm is standing next to Ali, and Ali's wearing a black jacket, and Malcolm is wearing a fedora. And you can see how much taller Malcolm is. the picture I have in the book has like they're further apart. It's the same set of pictures, but it's a picture that shows them further apart. So I shared one on Facebook where Ali is giving Malcolm 5, and you can kind of see the difference in the height. I understand the story and what everybody else was going through. It is kind of strong in that way. Jim Brown was also good friends with Richard Pryor, so it's another picture I have of Ali and which Muhammad was the trainer. Can't think of the Muhammad that was the trainer, but they go to Sam Cooke's funeral, and Sam Cooke was again, got his masters. They knew he liked tricking. That was his weakness, getting drunk and tricking with chicks. Here's a dude that technically owns a recording corporation, getting new talent, and you've just won your masters, and you don't change the way you do your business, your pimping. You still get drunk and out of control and tricking with chicks. And then, Bobby Womack wore one of his suits to the wedding, to the funeral. Bobby Womack, if you think you're lonely now, waiting to that Bobby Womack. Bobby Womack wears one of Sam's suits to the funeral with Sam's ex-wife. Within a month, marries her, and then messes with Sam Cooke's daughter too. Some Maury shit. So yeah, I haven't watched it all. That part kind of turned me off, and I need to finish watching it. And I'm mad at my movie site anyway. They ain't got the Messiah movie on it. I might have to end up paying for some stuff. That was a good catch. Y'all see that shit? I dropped it because my movie thing does not. There, I'm eating gotten to death tonight. My movie thing does not have the Messiah yet. What's the damn newest movie? Yeah, they give me some bullshit I got to go through first. So it was okay. I mean, what I watched was okay. It was good character development. Other than that part, I just thought you could have got somebody. Yeah, this newest movie is The Little Things with Denzel, Palmer. Those are the two newest movies on this crap. So I started watching One Night in Miami. Wonder Woman sucked. American Skin ain't worth watching. It's a humiliation. It humiliates us. So yeah, this does not have the Messiah movie. They're bogus. No, it's charged. So I haven't finished it. I haven't finished it yet. I just read on Instagram that the Rothschilds financed the civil rights movement. Well, what they did is it was unrest. And so what do you do when you have unrest? You create something that appears to work with the unrest. And again, they started grooming. King was a child prodigy, a child genius. This cat graduated from high school at 15, 16. He graduates from college and seminary, I think he was 20. So they groomed him. The Rothschilds trained him in communism as well. So Hoover wasn't wrong when he said that he was a communist because, again, the Rothschilds are communist. But the Rothschilds play both sides. I mean, the biggest thing about the fraud of the war, I bring this up several times, is in Syria, when the Department of Defense troops is fighting the CIA troops. Look that up, Syria. You had Department of Defense-backed troops fighting CIA troops. Oh, here's another one. The cat that got cut up, that went into the Turkish consulate and they cut him up. That cat was CIA. That's who was protecting him. Department of Defense didn't care for that cat and didn't tell the CIA that them people was in there waiting for him. But the Department of Defense probably had a hand in it. So do you see how they operate? Department of Defense was like, hey, you can get him here. They was in there waiting for him. They cut that man up like an animal and stuffed him in a box within half hour. Do you understand how they killed that man? Cut off his arms, cut off his legs, cut off his head, stuffed him in a box. Efficiently, no blood, took him out the building in a box. You see these beasts. You see the fun and games. Remember David Ferry said that in JFK, fun and games. Fun and games. That's how these things operate. What movie site do I use? I don't know if I should say this shit, but MovieBox. I use MovieBox. Yep, I use MovieBox, and it don't give you any BS, or it's like some games they sell, and that's it. Or you can upgrade in it too, and you can watch higher quality. Like when you put it on your Google thing, plug in and put it on your TV. Yeah, it you can upgrade and get it in a higher, higher resolution. So, but they like the one movie I didn't see, I wanted to see was the movie where the cities was on wheels and shit. I can't even remember the name of that movie, but I always wanted to see that movie and they never got it. So I'm wondering if that's going to happen to this Messiah movie. But hell, this probably be on here, just ain't on here yet. So that's the one I use. I use MovieBox. Crackstream I use for sports. You know what? Read my soul. Was you able to get on to the McGregor fight? Because I wasn't able to get on the McGregor fight with the Crackstream. Sure wasn't. Was not able to get on it. They wanted me to pay and put some credit card information up. I was like, hell no. I didn't have to do that last time because I saw the Spence fight on Crackstream. I saw the Spence fight. Do you think the Avatar sequels will suck when they come out? It's going to be beautiful filmmaking again. I don't know how they build on that. I imagine it's going to be the opposite, the tree people fight back or something like that is what I imagine. But the cinematography is going to be beautiful. The other one, even to this day, is still a beautiful movie to watch. It tells you how the me or the mind could possibly be in a body. Kind of gives you that thing where the machine can kind of create these other bodies that can be experienced. If you looked at it metaphorically, it took an entity that really wanted to be a human. That's kind of what they're showing you, that an entity wanted to go inside a type of being and experience being those beings. It's the same thing we see. What's the Koshner movie? Man Who Dances with Wolves and shit. It's kind of, where you got the European becomes the Indian because he loves the life. He sees the purity of the life. So the European has to be the Indian in the end. He sees the righteousness of what they do and the wrongs of the Europeans. But the point is, the European becomes the Indian. And Avatar shows kind of that. It's like, this is what the European does. It takes your place. You get that. That's what Avatar shows you. They take your place. They become that. So, but a pretty movie, no doubt. Now, Jeffrey Lane, you keep sending me texts. I don't see that you're in here, so you keep sending me texts. What's up, Jeffrey Lane? Crackstream's been busy lately. Out of Tyson and Jones in the 4th round for me. Yeah, I didn't even watch that Tyson stuff. I mean, I was amazed that people was thinking it was serious. And even the day before, they told you there could not be a knockout. They were not trying to knock each other out. It was a sparring match. I didn't get where people was taking it seriously. It was exhibition. And I heard people talking about they was betting. I'm like, why are you betting on an exhibition that don't count? It's like when Mayweather fights this dude, it doesn't count. It is an exhibition. Win, lose, or draw, it doesn't matter. And Nate Robertson, that was a fake knockout. If you watch it, it's fake. It's some setup shit to get the likes and get people to watch. Because when they hold these things, they want to find a way to make them keep living. make the event keep going. Like the Super Bowl with Wilson. The Super Bowl weeks, it was for weeks people talking about the Wilson turnover. And then it dies, but it keeps the event living longer. People still talk about it, so they're still making money on it in a way. So the European definitely becomes the Indian. Yeah, absolutely, Herm. They do. And that's what we see today. That's why they like with the Cherokee always fought with the British. They were one of the first tribes, them and the Westos. They became the British allies. And you see them rewarded. And you see them that they ain't, I know a lot of people get mad at the term $5 Indian, but you can go through the rolls and it's thick with that. If you watch the movie or the book Killer of the Flower Moon, and that would be a great movie. That would be a great movie. But Killer of the Flower Moon, the way the European was these people were making so much money and they put the Europeans over them legally, like they were children. And then they allowed one brother to marry a sister. They was murdering one of the sister, and then they would marry another sister to control that land. And it was legally done. I think my friend on Facebook said it best. Remember, genocide has science behind it too. Genocide is a part of science, is a scientific way to kill people. It's a strategy. I mean, that book is deep. I would recommend that everybody read that book and to see what they were allowed to do. They almost killed 100 of those people trying to steal their lands. They take the lands in the East, push them to some shit in Oklahoma they don't think is worth shit, and then all of a sudden they find their oil. And these people, like I talk about my great-grandfather having a Model T, cost him $900. Some of them dudes there was buying 5 and 6 Model Ts. These natives was making so much money off oil. And then the government, and then they're on their own land, and the government sets up some bullshit so these Europeans can benefit. Legally, steal. They put conservators over each person. And it's the same shit, like even with Biden, it's the same shit. How you forgive that man that openly said, I don't give a damn that you are poor, you are disadvantaged. I don't care. If you do crimes, we'll lock you up and throw the key away. He called them son of a bitches, which Trump later said, I think that some of their bitches should be fired. But so did Biden. And admitting he's a Zionist. So whose team is he on? Because Zionists are communist. Zionists are communist. I have to blow a big stack for that one. Young people, what is it with blowing rings and shit? I visit my son, and these mugs was like blowing rings, and I'm like, what is entertaining by watching somebody blow a damn smoke ring? And they're like, watch him blow the smoke ring. And I'm looking at these 19, 20-year-olds around me, all excited, anticipating this person blowing a smoke ring. And I'm looking at like, these are some idiot-ass people. I mean, it's like, how much more idiots can you jokers be that's entertaining to you? The dudes that own casinos look like Jays. They're not the real ones. Oh, of course. That man that had his hip up on Nancy Pelosi's guest had a modified taser built on a walking stick. That's the first I've seen something like that. Wow. The circle, the spin is addictive. That's why looks and twists are popular. There you go. And I've said before, maybe this is one reason why they penalized me, but it was no killers up in there. That wasn't who was sent there. I mean, come on, we are the number one country of imbecile psychopaths. They got real killers. Now you didn't see that. These people are efficient. They show you the movies how efficient they were, how efficient they can attack other countries and take over. That ain't what you saw. You didn't see anytime you see the news networks, you know it ain't real. When they send killers, it ain't no news or nothing. It's a normal day. That's what when they send killers after people, it's a normal day. And out of nowhere, the killers attack. And then they get away. They show you these movies over and over again. Ever since I was a little boy, they've been showing these kind of movies. How they can send commandos. They can send what was Rocky's name when Rocky went to Vietnam? He is the ultimate imbecile psychopath. What was Rocky's name when he went to Vietnam? Rocky was the ultimate imbecile psychopath, the one-man killing machine. 500,000 troops couldn't defeat Vietnam, but you could send Rocky in. And Rocky by himself will change that shit up. That was an American ego movie, but it highlighted the imbecile psychopath. Rambo, there you go, Rambo. That's the ultimate imbecile psychopath. Read 400 years of poor white trash, of class distinction. Read that book, and it tells you what they created. I mean, I think Richard Pryor said it first, and I probably echoed. It's like, it maybe, yeah, I think it was Richard Pryor, but it was like, they can mess with America if they want to, but they got some of them boys in Alabama and Mississippi that they got chains on. If you remember Blazing Saddle, they had Alex Karras with chains on. They got some of them imbecile psychopaths that they got to keep an eye on them because they are so efficient. That's why that American sniper, he ain't died. I mean, he died unless, he was going to get contracts and they were scared of him. They could have killed him because they were scared of him. But more than likely, he's still doing the same thing. They just had to hide him because they probably knew other countries wanted him to work for them or other countries wanted to kill him. So that's probably why they set that up. I guess it's all in the lungs. Ha ha ha. Yeah, Rocky. Thank you. Lorenzo, that's funny. I mean, this is what America is. It's the land of the imbecile psychopaths. They created these imbecile psychopaths. I mean, for a long time, they sterilized these people, but then they started realizing these were the best people to program. We go to school under a Prussian army system. That is our school system from the very beginning of the American school system. The Rockefellers had a hand in. Rothschilds as well, but we have we are in school in a Prussian military system. Desk in they don't do this now, but desk in order. I mean, look at Fast Times at Ridgemont High. The desks are in order. This is a military kind of training. I mean, I know now the sacred ball game and sports are popular working out, but it was Army calisthenics that they were teaching you. Every gym class I had taught me more and more Army calisthenics. Yes, sports was thrown in there, but basically squat thrusts, push-ups, chin-ups, these are all Army calisthenics that they show you in gym class to prepare you. If you go into the Army, if you get drafted, I mean, they used to draft people. I've talked about that many times when they was forcing people to go to World War II. Forcing people to go to Korea, forcing people to go to Vietnam. Everybody didn't just join World War II. They was forced to go there. Same with Korea. People was getting drafted, forced to go to Korea. That's the American way. Hell, the draft used to be on TV. Every Wednesday, the Vietnam draft went on TV, and they read the dates. And if they read one of your dates, you would get a letter within a couple of days. And when you had to report. That's what they showed Ali doing. And Ali said he denied it. And technically, you could get 5 years. A lot of people went to Canada. Canada and America is really the same country. But Canada was saying it was okay if you go over to Canada to get away from the war, they wouldn't send you back to America. Again, you become a type of agent. Because you're not protesting in America anymore. You understand? You're not protesting in the Americas. You got away. So your protesters, nobody's really hearing you in Canada. Canada's acting like it's okay protesters come over, but it's a way of silencing you. Like when Eldridge Cleaver goes to Algeria. I mean, again, Eldridge Cleaver was an agent too, but who cares that you're in Algeria? We don't care whatever the hell you're doing. And even when they went to Cuba, it's like there's no power there for you. Nobody's listening to you anymore. Cannon fodder. But this is, this is kind of the narrative that we've been fooled under, and the brainwashing. Like I have a cousin. Well, it was my cousin's ex-husband, but I've known him all my life. And this cat, his daughter's just going to Michigan, but this cat is probably 62. He believes everything he reads, he sees on TV. I mean, he has no abstract understanding of this thing not being real. He believes so much in Western science, it's almost like a Bible to him. Because that's his thing is like, well, I go by the science. Well, you listening to them. You are listening to them. But that's what I'm seeing. A lot of these cats in their 60s are so brainwashed that it's gone for them. I mean, like all these people really thought that Biden getting in was a victory for them. Like Saturday Night Live made fun of it tonight. Lorenzo, like Ice Cube said on Gangsters Make the World Go Round, go to school is what they want us, but niggas in school are scared of the good fellas. Yeah, it's a good lie. But this is our system. This is our system. I mean, we're going to see the midterms play out just like Obama. I've said this last night, and that's what it's going to be. They're going to lose some of the senators and majority in the midterms. That's the same script that happened to Obama. Obama went in with having everything. And my mother argues, no, Obama didn't have, he had it split. No. Obama went in just like this, where they had the majority. And then the Tea Party comes up that don't even exist anymore. And then like the fella that's supposed to be the Proud Boys, which was an agent. I mean, why would that surprise anybody? That's what they do. They make the leaders of supposed to be anti-government agents. So you can't be surprised by this. This is their game plan. This is what they do over and over again, and Americans fall for it over and over again. You follow an agent. He talks the part, he looks the part. That's the problem that I just see in the highlights of the movie about Chairman Fred. They are going to glorify the snitch. You are going to have compassion for the snitch. Because you can look at the trailer and already see it. You're going to see the movie without even seeing the movie. I'm going to already tell you this part. You are going to, at a point of watching the movie, understand why he did it. And it was like, well, you know what? He kind of saved his ass. And we talked about this before. Willie O'Keefe is killed himself walking in front of a car on the Dan Ryan or the Eisenhower. I don't remember which one he was on. One of them highways is 94. He apparently, because I asked someone else, we were talking, and they said that, he probably just did suicide, what they call suicide by police, but he did suicide by bumper. Because you ain't out there walking. Ain't nobody walking out there unless your car breaks down. Let me tell you some punk ass shit one of my best friends did to me. This is some punk ass shit. So again, I worked in Chicago over 10 years roughing basketball. So we done made about $500 in two days. And we had taken some weed. He had some weed. So I don't know if he had rolled a joint. I don't remember, but maybe we had just smoked a joint coming back, going back on 94. We going through the Dan Ryan, coming back, going back east. And he gets stopped And don't you know, this nigga grabs the weed that was in his lap and threw the shit in my lap. I wanted to beat the shit out this dude. I ain't say nothing else to him for the rest of the way home. Well, this is the story. The cop let us go. Again, we had out of state plates. We were in Illinois. A lot of paperwork, and especially for a small amount of weed, a lot of paperwork. I mean, the car smelled like there's no way he didn't know. But again, he looked at. I understood what the cop did. The cop was like, "I don't want all this paperwork. Y'all go ahead. This is they're not gonna do nothing but give you a ticket anyway." But I just remembered, I looked at my friend, and I just wanted to beat his ass for the longest. And I kind of quit messing with him for a while. And he apologized, "I'm sorry I did that." And I just wanted to beat him up on the way home so bad. But I didn't. But yeah, that's what my guy did. Oh, Reffin in Chicago. That's why I always tease and say some of the ugliest people in the country is in Wisconsin. And it was just interesting seeing ugly parents and ugly children. It's like, what is it with Wisconsin where I was seeing all these ugly children and the ugly parents bringing them in. Just joking. It's just comedy. Just comedy. It's just comedy, guys. Just comedy. Nobody take it personal. I ain't talking about anybody personal, but it was just interesting seeing that. Talking about cracking under pressure. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. This dude, let me tell you, we got banned from reffing. One time I had to jump on him we were waiting. No, we were about to go do a game. Me and him had smoked a joint. We was about to go do a game. One of his friends comes over. He rolls another joint. I'm like, dude, we got to go. And he was so bad where he would smoke weed in his car, then he would spray himself. And the thing that got us banned, and I'll tell the story. We were at we were doing a junior high volleyball tournament. And this dude is sitting there talking to, and I mean, we talking about 7th, 8th, 9th graders, or maybe just 7th and 8th graders, maybe 6th, 7th, 8th. He's sitting there talking about their shapes. And I'm just looking at him, and I kept scooting away from him. And I think he got reported. So for that winter, we got banned. I got banned because of his stupid ass. And I just kept telling him, like, man, that shit ain't appropriate. He's like, oh, I'm just joking. I'm like, you ain't joking. And he's saying it where, parents hear that shit. And, they got on him for smelling like weed, going into the gym, smelling like weed. I mean, it's just so unprofessional. It was just so freaking unprofessional. But let me be honest. He had did it for so long and nobody had ever said anything before. He had done it for so long. And then finally they suspended both of us. We were getting very minimum jobs. We luckily had this Catholic school where we did all their sports, or we really would have kind of starved. Our extra money from, SD, I used to smoke weed with a friend and he would spray Axe everywhere in his car after he had a DUI, so he was paranoid. But yeah, Rocky was talking about these little girls' shapes, and I'm like, and I kept like kind of trying to scoot away from him. And he would scoot with me because we was like between games, we had a game off, and I'm like, he didn't get it. I'm scooting away from you. I'm turning my back away, not listening. I'm not commenting. And he wouldn't stop. And one of them parents heard. Yeah. One of them parents heard and reported. And then all the bullshit about him smelling like weed. I don't get that. Like, that's like even in my house, I won't even want my house to smell like weed. That's why I like these things, because it don't smell like nothing. You can blow this in the house all day, you can't smell it. But like people, like I was at the Mall of America, some dudes passed me and just smelled like weed. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with it, but why let everybody in the world know that? That's how I look at it. I like to move in silence. I really do. I like to move in silence. So yeah, I like to smoke weed, but when I go out like that and I'm around people and I'm interacting with people, why would I want to smell like that? I mean, I was younger and I have done it, but why? Why would you, so And he was a good guy. I mean, at the time, I think there was times where cars broke down and he was coming to get me. You know, he had to come to another town to come get me to go do the games with him. So, you know, he was my man. But, you know, he was tripping in. I'm gonna send you some cash. Send me some crumble. I ain't sending that shit, man. Rocky, I ain't gonna send that shit. I would say, well, I like my privacy. There you go, read my soul. It's like, you know, you ain't gotta, and that's the good thing about these kind of things with the pins and these, you know, you don't smell like that shit. It's like I got a thing in my hallway because my neighbors all smoke, and I don't want the hall, so I got a little oil burner, you know, so my daughter ain't got to walk through that shit smelling like weed when she go to her mother because she be mad at me. You know, she be mad at me for what my neighbors do, you know. So I got a burner. So my daughter come on, I turn that motherfucker on, throw them damn cubes in there. So that's what it smell like when she leave. Because I can't control 3 other units. I can't control them. Same, yeah. Everybody don't need to know your business, you know. It's just moving silence, you know, moving silence. People that don't smoke weed can smell it from a mile away. Exactly. And it's just, you know, like people, like this is what I understand too, and this before mass. People will smoke a cigarette, put the cigarette out, go to the store, and then before this shit happened, you be all in the cashier's face with that monster, that dragon breath. And I just don't get that. How you want to do business with people and your breath smell like cigarette. That's so offensive smelling. I don't get that. And you'll see people smoke a cigarette till they go in, put it out, go buy some shit, and you face to face. Before mass, you face to face with somebody. And that dragon breath just right there in their face. And it's like people that smoke cigarettes don't think nothing about it. It's like I can't date women that smoke cigarettes because that shit is just so, your breath always stinks. It always stinks. And it's just, you know, it's hard. I couldn't date a woman that smoke. I feel the same way about cigarettes. Dragon hot doo-doo breath. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. You know, it's like they don't think anything about it though. And I'll be conscious of that shit. I don't know. That's just kind of how I've always been. I've always been conscious of that kind of thing. So to each his own. To each his own. It's you know, it's personal choice. You know, it's personal choice, but message, as they say, message. You know, move in silence. Move in silence. You ain't gotta be, you know. I mean, there's times, yeah, but there's other times where just move in silence. When you shop, you being a professional. You know, why should and now with the mask, the breath don't matter. You know, so that's the funny thing about it is now with the mask, your dragon breath ain't getting through the mask. If you smelling somebody's breath through the mask, that's some nasty ass breath. That's the good thing for the mask. It holds that dragon in. So that is one advantage to the mask. It's like you ain't got to smell somebody's nasty breath. Oh, and I remember being in clubs when they could smoke in clubs. Oh, and women try to talk to you and they smoking. And it's like, oh, sister, get out my face. Smell your own dragon, though. Yes, exactly. Now that you smell your old stuff. And this is just life. Everybody knows this is just life. And just some observations of life. Just be aware. Just be aware. You know, get you a little small bottle of cologne. You know, have you some mouthwash, some search or whatever the hell, little small bottle. You know, do it outside your car. But for some people, smoking weed in their car is just like sitting in their car, just like with some people with cigarettes, sitting in their car. And this is funny. People will hold the cigarette outside. You seen that? They roll the window down and they driving like this with the cigarette outside, and they take a hit and they put it back outside. I'm like, do you know how retarded that shit looks? You still smell like cigarette. Your car still smell like cigarette. I remember we got caught on the Dan Ryan with the same dude I'm talking about, my same partner. We got caught on the Dan Ryan. We got caught downtown Chicago for 2 hours. A 3-hour trip took us, well, yeah, about a 3-hour trip took us 5 hours. We were stuck downtown for 2 hours in traffic jam. And I'm with 2 cigarette smokers. And we were smoking weed too. But I'm with two cigarette smokers. My friend that threw the weed on me would smoke a joint and then he would follow it with a cigarette. But I'm with two dudes because we took a dude named Hood with us. The only time I ever felt like I was going to have a heart attack was the next day when I was roughing. My chest, I was roughing and my shit got so tight. And I knew it was from being exposed to all that cigarette smoke. And then now I saw a dude last week. He is smoking a cigarette with his child in the car. That's child abuse. That is child abuse. Same way with weed or a blunt. You smoking that shit in your car with your children in the car, that's child abuse. Nothing more, nothing less. I watched a girl show herself on Facebook Live. She's smoking a blunt with her children in the back and she had the sunroof open. I'm like, do you know how ignorant you look? The real reason they have us wearing these masks. That's the real reason. Hey, strong discernment. Thank you for joining. Lemons work for sick breath. Okay, there you go, Rocky. The one good thing about the mask is that people with bad breath can realize how bad their breath. You know, pretty soon people gonna be burning holes through the mask. The breath be so bad. Be like, your mask not covering you. It's blowed out right there. Your mask is blowed out because that breath is so hot and you catching the mask on fire. Where's your backup mask? Or maybe they need the triple mask, something like that. But you know, everyone, these times are trying. And what we face in a lot of ways is serious. And that's why sometimes I do get into the spiritual aspect, because that is the one thing they can't take away from us is your spiritual abilities and the not fearing death. Because right now, that's what the world wants to fear you with. It's a world spell of death. And this thing is for the whole world. And this is, a move by the New World Order, as Bush called it. Bush won, the Nazi called it. This is an act of the New World Order. That is why every country, no matter what religion, all of them are wearing the mask. I mean, when in time before have everybody done the same thing in the world? Name one time where everyone was doing the same thing. Never happened. Never happened where everyone in the world was following the same spell. And that shows you it's the New World Order. The one government, they want Christian Islamism. They want one world religion, one world government. And one move of the one world government is having everybody in the world wear a mask. Now, Google may not like I'm saying this, but that's the truth. And I'm putting it in the ether. That is part of what their agenda is. Hell, the only thing you could say that the whole world did the same was smoke cigarettes. That's the only thing you could really say that everybody in the world did is smoke cigarettes. So you see the agenda. It is not real. Hey, what's up, CJ? One good thing about I am in Tennessee, and I just read where a state senator proposing a bill that would penalize businesses that refuse to provide service for anyone not wearing a mask. Wow, that is deep. That is deep. Thank you for joining, CJ. All about all business boxing. I'm asking you, what is the real reason they have us wearing the mask? Mac represents silence. The whole world religion is now. Yeah. Well, that is why it is getting the whole world to do the same thing. It is obey. What was the Rodney Piper movie? Obey. He wears the glasses. Obey. That's what masks mean. It's the masses obeying. That's what they mean. And so I don't disagree when people say that the war is with the mask. So a lot of ways it is. But that is the one thing. It's the trying to get this one world religion, one world government in. And that is what the masks really are for. It's control. controlling the masses, making the masses. The other part is taking your identity away, taking your individuality away. You know, what did Saturday Night Live say? I want to see the bottom of your face. Face. Show me the bottom of your face. You see somebody's eyes, that's it. It's like the Muslims with being all wrapped up. Takes the individuality away, which is a communist thing. Communist is the individual is gone. It's the collective. What was it called? It's called the individual will not be celebrated anymore. Even though the individual may come up with the idea or the art or the dance or the culture, the individual is not going to be celebrated. The collective gets celebrated, not the individual. And that's communism. And so the masks are a step in communism, nothing less. It is a communist idea. I mean, people just voted for communism, not realizing that's what they're voting for. It ain't liberalism. We put a liberal in there. No, we didn't. We put a Zionist communist in there. And that's just how it is. And I ain't saying Trump was the best, but we didn't have no wars. And look at what the moves we doing with his orders. They already fighting again. They were smoking Kimba, missed a lot of shots. He threw up tonight, was supposed to go in, especially the last one. He hit some shots in the first half. Shit, he had 20-something still. He hit a bunch of shots in the first half. The end of the game was so suspect. So suspect. The turnover from Davis was suspect, like he did it on purpose. They turn it to him. He goes into the double team, not away from it or pass it out, and Davis loses it. And the guy, instead of going to the rim, he goes to the side, wasting time. You know, I thought, why didn't he go to the rim? He goes to the side, and they try to run a play. They do a couple passes. It was only 6 seconds left, and then Kimba shoots a fadeaway. So, yeah, scripted for them to win. That's all the games are. I mean, I didn't think they was going to let them lose. Remember, they lost 2 in a row. They lost to the Pistons, and they lost the game before the Pistons. I didn't think they were going to let them lose 3 games in a row. So, Carolina has more strains than weed. No. Corona has more strains than weed. Yeah, strong discernment. Such a hoax, all agenda driven. No wasted money by the elites. Exactly. It is. It's all agenda driven. They came up with this shit, Agenda 201. You know, watch Zach's work on that. They practiced this shit. This shit was drawn up. Watch what Sly was talking about, writing the future. You know, that little short slide did about writing the future. That is what they do. They do write the future. I talked about the book that the Bible that we want back from these mugs, the original American Bible. And they don't call it a codex. They call it a Bible where the future is already written. And they copy from this book. I mean, you really think, what was his name? Arthur whatever the hell his name was. Do you really think he came up with that shit? And then that Edgar dude, what was his name? Edgar Casey, maybe, in Indiana or Ohio. You really think them dudes was prophets? No, they was exposed to this stuff under the guise of, with Casey or wherever his name was, under the guise of hypnosis or trance. But no, they were exposed to these books, that book. And so they can release so much. I mean, you have to look at it like this. The culture of the European is to steal other cultures, to steal other magic, to steal other technology, which is the me or the my. It does the same thing as it would go to different planets. It was like, what was Silver Surfer's guy? It was like that. They would suck, the me or the my would take all the natural resources and use that planet, spit it out, and go to a next planet, having to be carried by a machine. because that was all it's intended for, is to eat up natural resources, to supply it, to make it live, to make it move. That's why none of this machine stuff men came up with. None of it. All this shit was, a machine gave it when the people were ready for it. And they show you the instances that this shit was probably created a long time ago. Now, I don't know how true Tesla was, but the radio we listened to, he invented. You sit in your car and you don't play XM, or you like radio. I like radio because, different stuff. Kind of get tired of my old music sometimes. And Bluetooth is all Tesla stuff, created 100 some years ago. Nothing new. More than likely, Tesla would have had cell phones a long time ago. I'm sure some of them did. Car phones been around since 1960s, the late 50s. My mother worked for Bell Telephone. She was like, yeah, they had car phones in the 60s. They had their separate line, but they had them. That's how long ago that technology has been around. Shit, 1980, you could have a car phone with an antenna. It's expensive, very expensive, but it was there if you had the money for it. Shit, y'all remember the 80s Mercedes? They already had the hookups that you just hooked your phone into the car. The car was already set up for it, had antennas and everything. If you bought an 80s Mercedes, it was already set up for your phone. Their cars sucked. Some of the worst cars ever made was Mercedes, made in from 88 to 2008. They made some of the worst cars. And the only movie they show that is Enemy of the State. Remember, they steal the Mercedes, and they cut this out. In Enemy of the State, they steal the Mercedes, and Will says it's a nice car, and Gene Hackman says, no, it really isn't. They cut that part out of the movie. But in the old movie, when they steal that Mercedes, Will says, this is a nice car. Gene Hackman says, no, it isn't. And it's like an 89, 90 Mercedes. And they were very good cars. You paying $70,000 for a car, and it's just, you're fixing it. You're fixing it all the time. And believe me, I had a Land Rover. They are not worth it. And yeah, it never broke down on me. And I did win some money driving it down the ice hill. Told a guy I could drive down the ice hill without slipping. And it had that little gear in it. It had a little stick where you could change the ratio, where you could drive down a damn hill. And all the children moved out. We could have somebody hold $500, and I told him I could drive down the hill without slipping. Shit, I put that extra that gear it had, that hill descent. I kicked that thing in, and I drove down there. I drove down the hill. I didn't slide down. I drove down that fucker and won $500. But trying to get the car fixed was costly. I needed a new rack and pinion. Now, everybody knows American car, you're going to spend the part cost you about $50, couple $100 put it in. The rack and pinion for that Land Rover was $1,200, and it was another $1,200 to put it in. So do you see, it's not worth it. Those kind of cars, the parts, it just ain't worth it. You can get an American car, the parts is a lot cheaper. Plus, you're keeping American jobs. Let me tell you what the Asians do here. The Asians only buy Asian cars here. And this is, I'm telling you, they're in the hood here on the north side in Minneapolis, which they call over north. There's a used car salesman that only sell to Hmong or Vietnamese. And he never has any American made cars. I would go there, try to talk to somebody, they wouldn't come out and talk to me. Or they'd kind of blow me off. But they only sold Asian made cars. And you see Hmong, Chinese, Japanese here, and that's all they drive. Very rare to see them on any other car. That is how dedicated they are. There's a young girl lives right here. she has a babysitter that lives a couple apartment buildings up. She drives an Acura. This young girl drives a Honda. They're both Hmong. Never see Hmong without driving an Asian car. And of course, we got the tuners too. Such a hoax. Yep. LeBron didn't want to take the last shot. Ha ha. They've always had the Simpsons TV show to give us heads up. In a way, they do. Hey, Dreadhead, thank you for joining me. Thanks for the kind words. What kind of cup are you drinking out of? Where can I purchase one from? All them expensive cars, they make you pay for the maintenance. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you can afford the maintenance. This is just my old copper cup. This is real copper, though. This is not the cut copper. I don't think it was one of the Russian cups. I don't think it was Moscow Mule. That's kind of the popular one. I don't think it was that. Honestly, I bought this on Amazon back in 2015. I don't remember the brand, but this is copper, and I got a piece of shungite. I got a piece of this in it. Shungite. I don't always say it right. I'm sorry. And then I treat my water with the shungite. Oops. The worst purchase I made was an Audi when I was young and couldn't afford it, honestly. Oh, CJ, I bought a 500 Audi 500. And it was the ones that was, I had to take it in and get the lock put it back on. Because when I was booming, that was the first thing I did. I bought me an Audi 5000. And it was the kind that they had to put the extra brake shit in there. But again, it was the same thing. No, I forgot. The first one I bought wasn't all-wheel drive. I put tires on that thing and everything. And when it was bad weather, it drove horribly. And I had the old crank. I don't know if y'all remember the old crank sunroofs. If you didn't have electric sunroof, the old ones, you had the crank open like this. So that was my first Audi. Sold that to my friend, and I bought a new one. And this was like 88. And I bought a new one. And again, the parts was expensive. I never really had any problems with it. I was kind of booming, so I had some people working on it. But it is, again, the parts. I had a young friend that had one. I had one, so he got one too, and he had an awful time with his. And he bought his because I had mine, because I was sending people over to the Audi dealership. But the new one I bought was all-wheel drive. But then I ended up buying a Grand Prix, like a 90 Grand Prix, and then the Grand Prix rode just as good as the Audi. So it's like, why spend the money? Why spend the money? So I had a Grand Prix that was probably 15,000, 20,000 cheaper, and it was a better car. It was a better car. So that just shows you spend more money than you think. But like the 02, 03, them big boxes, S-Class Mercedes, some of the worst engines ever made. Just like North Star engines. I want people to think I just talk shit about them on foreign cars. North Star engine, the Cadillacs, was some of the worst engines they ever made. You get them like 96, and I love that body style, but the North Stars, terrible. Matter of fact, I was watching the Rolex at the Daytona. They was doing the 24-hour Rolex in Daytona. That was on one of the channels. I think it was in NSNBC Sports. And watching all the different classes of cars, they drive for 24 hours. And it shows all the different classes of cars. Cadillacs had some like Indy cars in there, which I found was interesting, because North Star engines was supposed to come from, the racing, but they were terrible engines. And all they really had to do is put in the engine block, all they had to do is put a longer screw in there. That's it. Because if you got the problem fixed from the heads cracking, but you had heads cracking, you had the thermostats always faulting, and like the stupid shit they would do with the Lincolns with the power trunks. That's the stupid shit. Why a power trunk? I'm too lazy to shut it. That shit can go bad. You know, a lot of people would have to, rig it to keep it closed if you ain't have money to fix it. It was like the stupid shit. Like the Lincolns. I had a Continental 87, 88, the big body Continental. I mean, a Continental. And it had the air rides all around. And I mean, it's the stupidest shit in the world when that shit go bad, I had a Mark 8. I remember I went to Cleveland and came back, and one of my air rides failed. So I'm driving, leaning down the highway because one of my air rides done failed. And I'm driving with the car leaning. Or you remember the old Marks that if all the air rides, it would ride low. But I remember coming back from Cleveland. Here I got this, I don't know, the Mark 8 had a hell of a lot of horsepower. But still, I'm driving it like this because one of my air rides then went bad on the trip. It's just stupid. Like, why have that? That makes no sense. Don't make the car ride better. It's something that can break down. Grand Prix was a good car. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you get the GXP. They're really fast cars. Stafford to the Rams. Ramsey will never get a ring for talking about the NFL. That could be, too. That could be. I think he'll do well. He fits the system. That's the kind of, he went, Detroit never wants to win anything. They never want to win anything. All they cared about was selling out. It didn't matter if they won or lose. I had an 89 Nissan SEMA when I was stationed in Japan. The air suspension failed. Going over speed bumps was hell. Yeah, and that's another thing is like when you have to drive over the speed bumps all the time, that is terrible for your suspension. It's like my garage has like they didn't make the garage floor even, so it's always a boom when I come out of it. And so it's like, that's not great for the suspension. It ain't great for my tires, but it gets so cold, and my car is 15 years old. So it performs better when I put it in the garage. But it's like that kind of stuff is hard on the tire. Has Detroit ever been to the Super Bowl? No. Detroit won the championship in 56, 57, 58. They won the NFL championship with Bobby Lane. Maybe Dick LeBeau might have been on some of that 58 team. I don't quite remember if Dick LeBeau. No, maybe Dick LeBeau wouldn't have played. But Bobby Lane, I think they won it 3 years in a row in the 50s. And then when Bobby Lane got traded to Pittsburgh, he cursed the Lions because they sent him to, he went from a championship team because Bobby Lane didn't get along. If Bobby Lane got sacked, he'd go up to a lineman and punch him or kick him in the leg. He was a gangster quarterback. But he cursed the Lions and say, you will never win a Super Bowl, or wasn't a Super Bowl, but he's like, you'll never win again since I left. And they call it the Bobby Lane curse. And they ain't won nothing. No, I don't think the Lions will ever make it. The Vikings, Lions, Titans, I'm trying to think who else. Cardinals. What's the other teams that ain't won it? The Jaguars ain't never won it. The Panthers ain't never won it. I doubt those teams will ever win it. I doubt it that they'll ever win it. They don't care if they win or lose. They make money regardless. So it doesn't matter. It's the show. It's like when the circus would come in town or the carnival would come in town, they're going to make money. That's the same thing the way they look at it. As long as they make money. Browns, that's another one. Browns won't win either. Ramsey was playing with the Jaguars, and then Ramsey got traded to the Rams, and he talked shit. He forced them. Yeah. I would like to see the Skins win again in my lifetime. Maybe. They can't let every team win or every team become a dynasty. Rings won't hold value. Sellability. That's a good point. That is a good point. It is. And so that's why those people were happy. I mean, they're pinched now. Let's be honest. Like the owner of the Raiders is pinched. He ain't a rich dude. And so I know he's hurting in LA. I know they hurting too, because they got two teams they was thinking they was going to make money from. They was going to damn near have 16 games at that place through two teams. So you know the amount of money they was going to make? And they ain't getting none of it but TV money. And TV money they got to split with the players. So the owners is, the owners that ain't billionaires, which, like that Davis, they ain't billionaires. The Raiders owners ain't billionaires. And I don't think, maybe Cleveland is. Maybe they're owners, but next Super Bowl win will be a black quarterback. Redskins' next Super Bowl win will be with a black quarterback. Could be. They're redoing the Doug Williams thing, because remember, Doug Williams didn't even start the next year. He was crying on SportsCenter when he got benched. That Jay dude who played with the Raiders later. What was his name? Jay something. They benched him. Matter of fact, that Jay dude was the dude who did the season and got hurt. And they brought Doug Williams to the Redskins, and that Jay something with an S. I can't think of his name, but Jay Schrader, some shit like that. Maybe somebody knows. Is that a copper cup you're drinking from? Herm, only thing I can say is Amazon, or eBay. I don't remember. I think I got this on Amazon. I don't remember the brand. I'm sorry. I don't remember the brand, but it is copper. Like you can get Moscow Mule is the most popular of them, and you can get the original full copper, or you can get the one that's kind of cut. So they won't discolor. The ones that stay shiny all the time, but they're not fully copper. They're kind of cut. So, but that's where you can get it from eBay. Well, different grocery stores, but look for Moscow Mule cups, but just see, make sure, like this is all copper. Some of the Moscow Mules ain't all copper. They're cut copper. So the content is a little less copper. NFL East is the only division that had every team in the division to win a Super Bowl. Lorenzo, I had not thought about that, but you are right. You are right. No one would care about rings. Yep. Some teams have to never win. That's right. Jamarcus Russell. Yeah, they gave him all that money. Jay Schroeder. Yep, that was right. Right, Rocky. Jay Schroeder. Notice only certainly they let certains have. Yeah. Schroeder, yep. Jalen Ramsey tweeted the coach told the Jaguars to lose the game against the Patriots in 2017. I remember that. Sure did. Notes that only certain markets will have a black quarterback. Example, Green Bay will never have a black quarterback. That's not quite true because remember when Rodgers got the shoulder injury, Hudley was their quarterback. But he lost. But so, I don't know. He was their quarterback for a while. Hudley, remember Hudley? I think he went to Notre Dame. I hope Hoskins doesn't turn in like Jamarcus Russell. He didn't get Jamarcus Russell money. Huh? He didn't get Jamarcus Russell money. Florida teams will win Super Bowl. That's been Trump's, Washington's. DC plus Tom Brady had that in his locker room. He did. That's why Saturday Night Live made fun. Jordan Love. Yeah, the new quarterback they got is Jordan Love. That's right, CJ. Hudley went to UCLA. That's right. He went to UCLA. Yup. But yeah, Jordan Love is the one. But they're already saying that he might be a bust. Love might be a bust. He ain't picking up the system. So we'll see. Yeah, that Patriots won the Super Bowl 9-12. I knew it was fixed. And when the Raiders lost to Tampa. Yep. Right, James. They drafted Jordan. They did. Hudley. Yep. J.R. Smooth. Yep, he played with him too. So Love, but they're already saying that Love's not picking it up. He was rated the third quarterback. So, well, guys, I think I'm going to cut it short. What time is it? Oh, yeah. My daughter's coming over here fairly early to wake my lazy old ass up. And so, but thank you for all the questions, all the participation. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. As I slowly climb back up this mountain, still going to bring the same thing that I did before. It's the same information. I try to do my best and answer questions in the best way I try to. As one thing I want everybody to do is, look at the whole story. Whatever you're studying, try to study all of it. Don't be biased in your studies because so many times we study stuff with a twist, a twist favorable to what our argument is, but don't study it like that. Study it as you being in the middle. That's how you have to study. And that way you can turn in every direction and learn the information about whatever it is that's your passion or whatever it is that you want to know. Not believe, know. Because that's what the technology age gives us. It gives you the ability to know it all. All is revealed. Remember that. All is revealed. Ain't none of this shit a secret anymore. That is the thing that me or the mind had to do. Because it knew there was going to come a point when it used all this what we got now. This internet and everything that it had to tell everything. Religion, science, everything is revealed. So it is up to you to find it. and find the whole story, not just the part to benefit you, but find it all. I mean, that's really what, when they say you standing on your square, you stand on your square, but you can turn around. It ain't like you standing there and got to be like this. You stand on it because you cover every direction of that square. It ain't just one way, you just like this on the square. No, you are represented in every direction of the square. I mean, they don't teach that part, but that's what it is. You stand on top of it. And that's how your study should be. I mean, there's some shit you might not be interested in, but it might be 2 or 3 lines that be like, oh, it wakes you up. It's like, oh, shit. There's books, I don't finish them. But there's some stuff in there. When I find what I'm looking for, I'm like, okay, I already know the rest. Like, okay, I see the agenda here. But it's like, what I want to pull out of that book is like, okay, I got to read so much of it to pull the stuff out. And it's always a reference there. And that's how you got to go about all this. Whatever your passion is, learn it all about it. Don't just learn the good part, learn it all. Like, I have a cousin that has been in the Nation of Islam probably 30 years. They're into Scientology, Masons, Qs. How do you justify that? How do you justify making Nation of Islam members take all these Scientology classes? How is that justified? And they get charged. You know one reason why I always bought Muhammad Speaks? Because them people got to pay for them papers out of their own money. The profit they get back is selling papers. That's why I always bought bean pies. I always bought papers, because I knew that was what they was going through. To make their money back, they have to sell the papers and the moon pie, or the bean pies. You see that, how bogus that is, how they using the people? But Scientology, and you got to take the damn classes now. And you don't want to talk about that. Like one time I told him that Wallace Farad was not dead at the time, that they found him in New Jersey. I want to say the book on Malcolm X Killer talks about that. They found that cat in New Jersey. And I hit with my cousin with it. He's like, that's all lies. I'm like, no, it ain't. And then you got Muhammad Ali's wife taking a picture with that cat, showing that cat in the 80s. And that cat disappeared, what, in the 40s? Early 50s, supposedly. He disappeared out of Detroit, and he magically, no one knows. Where Muhammad Ali's wife is talking to his first wife, Brenda or Belinda. It's like, yeah, this cat, I knew him, saying his name. And there's enough, I can't think of the book, but it tells you where they find this cat. He ain't dead like they would say. So why would you want to be part of Scientology? Scientology don't believe in Islam. They believe in L. Ron Hubbard, who was also messing with Crowley at one time. But see, it's that Christian Islam stuff again. It's trying to merge them all. And that's what you see with that, trying to merge all that stuff. Get a bigger following. Brainwash more people. So keep your minds open. Keep your minds open. Search. Live your passion. Live your intentions. Remember what they used to say? What is the word? My rep. My rep is all I have. Well, now it's more your intention. Your intention is what you have. And I'll give you just a slight little metaphor. It's like I bought my cat's beds, because in the wintertime, the floor gets a little cool. Only one of my cats used the beds. I don't care. My female cat won't use them. I bought the beds for the cats. And if only one, and my male cat, he goes back and forth. I fulfilled my intention. Didn't matter what they did with it. I don't care what they do with it. I didn't buy it for they have to use it. I'm grabbing the cat, like, God damn it, you got to be in the bed. That wasn't my intention. My intention was to help them. And if only one of them used it, that's okay. I did my intention. My intention was to help them. And that's my point, is how you guys should be, is live by your intentions. Let your actions show what your intention is. You try to help someone and don't look for anything in return, that's genuine. Now, I'm not saying don't hustle. Everybody got to hustle. That's the system. There's no way to get around that. We all got to hustle to survive. Or we'll be like you see people here. It's legal here to stand next to the highway with a damn sign. And the thing about that is, and who was the one who said it? I think Brother Panic said this a few years ago. And I don't even watch that cat because he says some weird shit sometimes. But he says something that sometimes is kind of true. And what he said is, then people sometime in them corners like that do be entities to see who fuck with the entity. And there are times that you should give to those type of people. Because if it's that entity, and that entity shows that you did some charity, I mean, that's a good intention. And I've run across that before. Matter of fact, one time I had to circle, I took the wrong turn, so I had to go by this bum twice. And it just told me, I was like, okay, I gave him a couple bucks. So I'm like, yeah, okay. Something's making me say, notice this dude, there's something going on. Now, I'm not saying every time, but I'm saying there are times where, that kind of thing is cool to slide them a little something. The way the energy moves, the energy wants you to move. Throw him a little energy, and by throwing him a little energy is going to come back to you. It's not every time. Don't get me wrong. It's not every time. But if you get that feeling, you're like, shit, there's something different about this cat. Yeah, here's $1. You run into that. Go with your instincts. I mean, most of the time I ignore them. I'll be honest. I ignored a couple dudes the other day. It's not every time. But what I'm talking about was 3-4 years ago. But that is the thing. I'll say that. That is the thing. It ain't karma. Don't live under karma. I don't know how often I talk about that. Do not get caught living under karma. You live above karma. You have to live above it. And then you look down when that shit's coming around. You live above karma. Not with karma. You have to live above it. Because remember, it's the kind of thing that will, you can play double dutch with it. Now, if you want to live your life playing double dutch with karma, then that's a funny way to live, because when that shit come back, it's like the old things you put around your legs. And remember, you jump around the bell, you'd spin it, and then you start making the thing circle, and you have to jump around the bell. That's karma. That's karma exactly. That's what that little thing was showing you how karma moves. And if you live with that shit could come back and smack you. So you have to be above that. You don't accept that. That's why I tell people, it's like, I hope you have good karma. I don't accept that shit. I'll keep that shit. I live above karma. I watch down. I watch it move under me. I'm above that shit. So, well, again, I am 8-Wind is timeless. I am also 8-Wind Eagle. I am also a time lord. I'm the only time walker. I am the keeper of the continuous ball game, the protector of it. This is why I expose the corruption. I thank each and every one of you that ever views this. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I really do. Regaining the audience is not easy in this thing. But as long as some people want to hear, I'll persevere. I'll still put the same kind of information out. So, as I always end, I end with Isham. His rhyme, he's a poet, rapper, early rapper out of Detroit. And it goes like this. I'm not a New York rapper or LA gangbanger. I'm just an old school Detroit crack slinger. Thank you, everyone. Till we meet again.